Irish.
Oh, damn. What up, everybody? Welcome back to Professional Leisure with... That's Naledge over there in the orange. You know what I'm saying? Me over here, double O, wearing my best... Shouts out to Nina Sky, you know what I mean, in the building, repping the squad.
I see you.
I don't know if you remember from last week, I talked about how Instagram has been tricking me with chains and shit. And so I this is one of my little cop pieces, you know, they've been tricking me to get them. But how are you doing today, sir? You went to pour a drink right before we began, so I want to know what you're sipping on over there.
Just some bourbon, straight up, with the circular cube going.
Ah, you got the circle cubes.
Yeah.
We've upgraded the lifestyle.
You know what I mean? You can see it kind of. You can see it as it's poking up.
Yeah, I never knew that I could become a snob of ice cubes. But it's literally...
I had an ex-girlfriend who was like, why would you put tap water into smart water? Or why would it like... And I was like, oh, snap. So, like, I got to have, like, Ice Mountain ice cubes and shit. Like,
apparently so. Shit. Yeah, that's crazy. Damn, why would you put...
You know, this is, like, maybe 7 years ago or something like that. And I was like, well, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah,
like,
you know.
He's like, yo, you just put tap water in smart water.
Hey, fuck it. But if you hold on real quick, we got our boy on the line. Oh shit! And he's got background and everything. Hold on, let me get him right real quick. I gotta get everybody. I gotta make sure y'all right.
Demolition Man, Jay.
I mean, you know, everybody got their little. Hold on. Let me get over. I'm gonna get y'all. You know, we out here just still cooking, trying to figure this out. We got the king of Supras. We've got the man, the myth, the legend. You know what I'm saying? He's created about 5 versions of himself and only puts out one album on each of them. And then when everybody wants the other album, it never comes out. He's been repping Y3 before I even knew what the fuck Y3 was.
That's real.
You know what I mean? And he is Mickey motherfucking Factz.
Stop.
And he's got that virtual motherfucking background popping, which is a whole other piece.
It's Mickey. We got the gold supers.
Oh, you found them.
Gold supers. I pulled them
you
out.
You found them. Yeah, that was the most important thing. It was like, can you find the supers?
One pair of gold supers, bro.
Amazing. Amazing. How are you doing, sir?
Y'all? What's up, Naledge? Hey, man. Hey, listen. Yo, Naledge, man. It's so good to see you, brother. You know, I remember when we first met and we were about 50 pounds lighter. You know, it was a great time.
Real story.
You know, I'm big too, brother. I'm big too. So don't feel bad about my comment because you know it's real life. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I'm so happy to kind of see you. I haven't seen you like in so long, brother. But obviously, I see Double O when I'm with Lou.
Yeah,
it's been eons. You know, it has been, man.
Just so you know, because we're always trying to let everybody know, the point of this podcast, when Naledge and I started, we've been having a long conversation, and it was like, you know, there's an issue that potentially the entire blog MySpace generation is at the risk of being totally forgotten about because no one is telling the story. No one's giving the flowers. No one is having those conversations. And so we just wanted to create a platform that really just rep for the set while we had it, because it was just like, this is a similar time in that we don't know what the fuck is going to happen next, but there's nothing that really truly encapsulates what was going on during that time,
Right.
you know? And the only way to really do it is we got to start, we just got to start here. Got to come right back to here, you know what I'm saying?
Oh man.
I remember that video.
Do you know what I'm saying? This is where we at.
Let's do this.
This is where we at.
First things first, and last things last. I cut the middleman out so I can stack cash. None of your songs ever rock. You rap trash. The joke's on you, and I'ma have the last laugh. Look, man, give it up. Homie, I've been fly with my pants zipper up. I never lie. I'm the man. Look
We
me
gotta-
up, not Disney. Google me now. The name's Mickey.
All right, we got to talk about a few things. First of all, I need to know what
Wow.
the fuck were you wearing on your upper body at that time? Because you were so fashion forward that I remember Naledge and I thought we like finally figured out a way to personify the Ivy League smart education shit by just being really like dapper and dressed up before it was really a thing. And then all of a sudden we would come to that video shoot specifically,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, there's something brand new going on. There's a whole different, there's some whole new shit. What is,
and Chuck and Mikey and shit, and then like it just seemed like it was like, wait, what the fuck?
yeah, you had a custom quilted, you know what I'm saying, glad bag, filled with the finest of dove feathers. You know what I'm saying, and
I'm letting you get your jokes off, because the brand that I'm gonna say is gonna fuck everybody's heads up so much. This is gonna be like, nah, you lying.
go, because you were ahead for real.
Everyone.
So that was the very first Hood by Air piece ever.
Yeah, you know
And
that
Raul, the creator of that brand, he was at the video shoot too. And when he gave me the shirt, I was like, "Yo, this is crazy," because it looked padded up front, and it just looked fly. And I was just like, "Yo, this is crazy." And I didn't know that Hood by Air was gonna be what it is today, obviously. But Raul was like, "Yo, Mick, please, show some love." And after I wore that, they just started giving me more and more Hood by Air. So I was wearing Hood by Air like 3 years before it came out.
what I love about that era, and I think that story is indicative of everything, is like, number one, no one knew what the fuck was happening, but everybody was just like, the floodgates are open because of the internet, and because there's now just this like way of everybody being able to connect on MySpace real quick and easy. And we were all just like, we don't know where this is going to land, but we're just trying to experiment. Oh shit, we got baby pictures.
Yes,
Baby pictures.
Yeah,
So what I'm doing right now is, I feel bad that my phone is doing this Zoom thing. So I'm trying to send it to myself now so I can be on the laptop just like you guys. So
I don't think Naledge is on the laptop.
I'm on the laptop now.
Oh, okay.
Laptop.
He just might. I thought he was on the phone sideways.
I was last week.
Yeah, But yeah,
Right.
Speaking of which, both of y'all are dads, old ass motherfuckers. And I'm out here living like the moon dog. I don't know if you've seen Beach Bum, but that's my life right now.
Oh, lucky you.
And Yeah, I did want to. We've got to wait for you to come back so we can actually have a conversation about shit. There we go. Now I got it. Yeah, I'm trying to admit
soon as that logs in, I'm gonna log out of here.
I just admitted you, right? You should be in there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now you're there. So now you log out of this one. Stop that.
All right.
You didn't log out though. Oh.
No, we go.
There we go.
We good.
Okay. We out here now. So yeah. So again, that time, and it's the perfect time for my favorite motherfucking let me get over here. I got to make sure y'all are right everywhere I take you to. Because I'm over here switching through mad scenes and shit, trying to be super fly. But this is ready for our first segment, and we like to call this prayer hands emoji, right? Okay. And so we have to say R.I.P. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to. There's been some conversations online about it, but we want to say R.I.P. to creative recreation. Since we're talking about the era, right?
Yeah. I don't think I ever had a pair of those, though. I don't think I ever had creative Rex. I just want that to be known.
Creative Rex were the wildest shoes, though, because they might be the. I don't even know if there's a clothing brand that sort of reps the same way, but like. They encapsulated every idea, anything that you could throw at the wall, and trying to think about new silhouettes before any of these new brands that came online really figured it out. And I think we do have to give them a shout out because they were one of the first like startup brands that I saw where it was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, so you can go against Nike, you can go against Adidas and Reebok and these age-old brands and create something that people are now rocking in videos, people are now rocking on red carpets. But yeah, it got ugly for a little bit.
I was never okay. Knowledge. Were you into creative Rex?
Not crazy. I remember it had a moment in Chicago where people was wearing them, but it was like a short moment because I remember John Monopoly, man. We was shopping one time and he had these snakeskin creative Rex on and they matched his jacket. And I remember being like, yo, like where you get those from? And I remember that day we went to Leaders and he was like, yo, he bought me a pair. And then he was like, we go to LA, I'm gonna introduce you to the people or whatever. And he was under the act of like maybe he was trying to hit a lick and be like, maybe they'll put some money towards a project or something like that. But I remember they took a turn for the worse because like all the gangsters started rocking them and being real matchy and shit. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was telling Double O, like you can find them shits in like Sally Beauty Supplies and shit like that. Man. Like, nah, you can't wear them shits no more.
You know what I want to say RIP to? And I don't know if I know Knowledge, you know, because we were nerds in this whole conversation, but I would love to say RIP to the digital divide. Because you remember that was a whole ass conversation where people were super scared that the hood and poor people would never come online fast enough.
They was waiting.
And during that time is where you saw the awkward transition, right? That's where you saw motherfuckers was like, oh, somebody told me this shit was fly. And you're just like, what are you wearing right now?
Okay, so what was World Star the digital divide?
No, the digital divide was basically, it was before World Star. It was the idea that computers and hard lines and like rural areas and places that were really poor were never going to get the internet fast enough for everybody else that was benefiting from it. Little did they know that mobile phones would basically be the thing that would be the huge jump in transition. And so once the mobile phones happened, once the mobile phones happened, that is what really that's what really just jumped everything. But yeah, this was that weird transition where like if you didn't have super fast internet and all of a sudden you see Mickey come down 125th in some skinny jeans, you were just like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Because you didn't have MySpace. Like, you didn't know what was happening on Nah Right. You weren't, like, so many people, we think about that time, and obviously we love it, but, like, how many of your homies were actually on, like, Hip Hop Game or any of the blogs at the time? They didn't know. They were maybe on, what is it, live mixtapes. Maybe you had the mixtape sites, but motherfuckers were still buying CDs up until, because I bet you printed CDs.
We stopped printing CDs in 2007.
Oh, you were better than us. We kept that shit going.
Yeah, I mean, GFC, they scolded me for printing up. I printed up In Search of the NERD. That was my first mixtape as Mickey Factz, and they scolded me. And this was 2006. They was like, "Why are you pressing up CDs when everything is digital?"
Yeah, and
it's incredible to even think that they had that mindset 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, I did it to sell, and they were like, nobody's gonna buy CDs because it's gonna be archaic soon.
Yeah.
And to add to your point, none of my friends was on the blogs. None of them, none of my relatives were on the blogs. It was still a very much so radio-driven culture still, a DJ radio-driven culture. And still a mixtape culture still, but a mixtape culture that was hosted by DJs.
Yeah, DJ Drama and Don Cannon.
It was still a drama-filled world. It was still a drama-filled world.
Yep.
And, it was interesting how, myself, you guys, the Cool Kids, Wale, Cudi, all of us in that time frame, we basically fought against the system. Now, I fought against the system because I didn't have the money to pay Drama. I didn't have the money to pay K-Slay. I didn't have the money to pay these guys to even be on their mixtape, let alone have them host a mixtape.
Yeah.
And even if I would have given them money to be on a mixtape, I would have been at the bottom of the mixtape. Right. I find it interesting that, when we were doing our thing, using MySpace, using the blogs, using Twitter, I signed on to Twitter late 2007 to get on. We were touring the country because of the internet, and we were we can spend hours upon hours just telling stories of, my first real show wasn't in the country. My first real show was in China.
Oh, word?
Yes. MTV China flew me, Quaz, not Kim, Precise, and Lakita out to China. They flew us out to China and put us in 5-star hotels for 5 days.
That's nuts.
And that's just strictly off the internet. Like, what I'm saying? Like, so that was our first time kind of saying, okay, this is real. And this was before I met Naledge. What I'm saying? Like, and I felt like at this point, I was like, okay, this is real. And mind you, I'm in China and nobody even really knew about me in New York City at the time because this was 2007. I didn't really start popping until after and I want to give you guys your flowers. I didn't start popping until after Factz was Naledge. And, that was a strategic move on my behalf. I had been a fan of you guys. I saw what you guys were doing, what I'm saying? And I was like, I want to work with these guys. And I had already been working with Chuck English, and I knew you guys. I was starting to bubble a little bit on MySpace, but you guys were already popping because y'all was on Duck Down, right?
Oh, we were on Raucous, the first project.
Right.
But
So,
we hacked a little bit of the system. Obviously, having a relationship with Just Blaze allowed us to you know, get on the
maneuver.
radar a little bit early
Right.
before the Raucous deal. Yeah.
Right. But I remember. I think it was me who I reached out to Knowledge, and I was just like, "Yo," and the kid made the beat off the PlayStation. He made that beat off of
Crazy.
a PlayStation 2 game. It's a
That's
video game. And I was like, "Yo, this beat. I want to get you on it." And I knew Knowledge was just like, this guy is fucking crazy lyrically. So, my mindset wasn't even trying to out rhyme him. I was like, I need to get on that right. That was my whole thing. I need to get on that right. So
crazy think about that now.
like, cause you guys were already on it, and I was like, at that point, I was like, cause that was like the 10th. No, that was like the 6th song I had did in a series of putting out a song every week. Yeah. So we had did this song late January, and I was like, I need to get on that right. Whatever it takes to get on that right, I'm gonna do it. And I shot at SK, and that was the second post that he made of me, but it was the first post that he didn't diss me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, now I'm locked in. I'm in it to win it. And it became a thing. And, I always wanted to say thank you to you guys, because you guys are part of my story. You guys are part of my journey into being who I am, still living off of music, 12 years later. So I want to say thank you to Double O and Knowledge, man. You guys, along with the Cool Kids, obviously, because Rockin' and Rollin' was a big record. But,
yeah.
That record, that record, Knowledge versus Factz, was really what set everything off.
And that was during the time where I think I had spent upwards of like almost a year and a half to 2 years on my sister's couch in New York. And like I was spending time between there and Double O's crib. And I remember we did the record, if I'm not mistaken, at Double O's crib.
Did we do that at your crib, Double?
I can't remember. I mean, we might have. We absolutely might have. What year was it?
08.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it probably was in. We probably were either in. I was probably either in Washington Heights or. Yeah, I was in Washington Heights for all that time, so it would have had to have been that. I don't see why we wouldn't have done it there. It was one of those things we were just living that life. I had the IKEA. This is how you know. This is how I know. Number one, we're all fucking insane and delusional, and we just need to accept it. And then number two, you maybe need a little bit of that in order to really make it.
Right.
So let me explain the situation to the people. I basically took 2 doors off of an IKEA, the very cheap IKEA wardrobe that you get for like $99.
Right.
And I drilled 2 of those together, and I put them in the corner of my room. And then I put like some cheap comforters that my mom got me and just made a DJ booth off of that. And that's where Knowledge vs. Factz is recorded. That's where Driving Down the Block is recorded. That's where a ton of records that we were trying to figure out at the time, even later, like Jukebox and stuff like that, I think were also recorded there. And I've always said that, like, the idea that you make something in your bedroom and someone the world should hear it is an absolutely insane person's idea. Like, it's a crazy person's idea. That's like saying, like, man, and I was fucking last night. The whole world should see it. Like, it's crazy. Or, but you need that sort of crazy. You need that sort of gall to do what we did, which was go from where everybody a generation ahead of us needed a music studio, needed studio time, needed these big producers or big, big budgets to do something, and we just took that and we were like, however we can record it, wherever we can record it, and just get that bitch online,
Yep.
like
And get to the next one. That was the next. That was the one thing too. Is like, when we first got to Raucous, their whole idea was like, oh, where's the single? Remember when they sat us down and they told us they wanted us to make a record like 3 6 Mafia? And
tell the whole story. What did they say they wanted to do?
They said they wanted us to make a record that sounded like that joint was "I Wanna Stay Fly."
So that they could do what though?
What you mean?
The literal quote was, "Listen." Shouts out to Brian and Jared, but fuck it, we can expose y'all now. These fools were like, we need to be able to walk in the High 97 with 10 racks and an 8-ball and get a record played.
He did say that shit.
And an 8-ball?
I forgot he said that shit.
They were like, how else do you think we got Get By played? How else do you think we got, Simon Says played? Like, this is how you have to walk in it was payola era. And so they felt like we weren't, well, specifically Naledge wasn't, because he was the one signed to Raucous at the time, but that he had not made that kind of record yet. And so they were putting us on the back burner. But that little did they know that helped create our career, because what we were able to do, they were looking for Kanye 2.0.
Yeah.
And so then what we did was circumvent that, because we had everybody, next Naledge, Dart, pay attention to your contracts. Because what we did was we had a carve out in our Raucous contract that said that Naledge could still do Kids in the Hall and have nothing to do with his Raucous contract.
Right.
So when we all of a sudden carved that out and we're about to put a Kids in the Hall record out, then they came to us with a new contract for Kids in the Hall as a group to put that out. Yeah. And so we were able to do 2 different contracts, and Kids in the Hall obviously became the thing that sort of moved. But had we not been able to do that, we would have been stuck trying to figure out how to make this Naledge solo single that they could run with.
Yeah, they wanted just that one single. They had a specific way. There was 3 records they referenced. The first time they came to me, it was like they wanted something like the Oh No record. And I was like, that ain't really like have y'all listened to what I do? I was like, that's not really me. Then it was the 3 6 Mafia joint they came at us about. And then after that, they wanted us to do a record like the Vans record. The pack shit.
Shouts out to Stunner Man. I was just with him 3 days ago. Jaleel Nzinga on Instagram, who's now an amazing artist. But yeah.
Lil B. Wow. I find it very interesting. I was very lucky to have Jeff Sledge as an A&R.
Were you though? Because your Justin Timberlake record never came out.
It didn't come out because Jive folded. I want to be clear that we were creating music, around that. I had a Bruno Mars record, I had a John Legend record, I had this Justin record that we were getting ready to do, but Jive folded. And once Jive folded, Jeff, who believed in my music, he never came to me and said, we need to make a record like such and such.
Yeah.
And at that time, because I signed in 2010. So at that time, Pop Champagne was popping. Ye, I think Ye was on his Beautiful Fantasy shit. But Sean had just put out Marvin Gaye and Chardonnay, so they didn't tell me to make a record like that. They didn't tell me to make a record like the Wale record, the Wale and
Gaga
Waka record.
Oh, Waka.
No hands. No hands.
Rocco Dash and shit.
So they didn't tell me to make records like that. They wanted me to be me, and I was always appreciative of Jeff Sledge and Jive in that vein. But once I moved to RCA, man, it was a nightmare. They were like, you got to make records like whoever was popping.
And shouts out to oh, Naledge is gone now. Where you at? He'll be back. Shouts out to Duck Down for fronting on our Jive deal. So we
Yeah, that's shit crazy. We was definitely
could have been over there, you know what I'm saying? Shouts to Aunt Rich, Jeff Sledge, everyone was, and
Aunt Rich,
you know,
oh man,
yeah, everybody was trying to do the deal, and it didn't happen. But that was, you know, that's kind of like the indicative of the time.
They asked for more money than they was even gonna give us for the. They was asking more money to get bought out than
Wow.
for our advance.
It happens, though. It happens. I get it. At the end of the day, I think, again, it comes back to like no one knew what the fuck was going on. And so everything that was happening was a brand new idea. Okay, I'm sure you can attest to that. You were in the major label system and they were like, okay, this dude is coming from these blogs, but we're still trying to treat him like he's a 1997 or 1998 rapper, and we need to put him with, like you said, Bruno, Justin Timberlake. We got to make these really big records that are going to work rather than doubling down on what you had already been doing and be like, yo,
Right.
GFC and Y, here's a bunch of money. Go do what you got to do.
So that's the interesting thing. So like, I got signed because I put together this 20-song demo project and I gave it to Jeff, and he was like, "Okay, let's do a deal." Because a lot of the records were pre-LMFAO, so like a lot of the stuff was dance hip hop.
Yeah.
That LMFAO began to start doing right after I got signed. The Justin, I had this record with Bruno that I had got done before the B.O.B. record, but I just held on to it. And that record was a Lupe record first. But no, the B.O.B. record was a Lupe record first. I had a record called Click Clack. And apparently Bruno just sent this record to everybody. So there's a Dickie Simmons version, there's a Mickey Factz version, and there might be an Asher Roth version somewhere online, right?
Shouts out to Asher.
Yeah, that was my guy.
We got to get him on soon as well.
Yeah.
You know, the John Legend record. So he was on tour with Sade. And
I remember that.
It was an overseas tour that he was on, and he came into the city and was like, "I want to work with Mickey Factz." Wow. On his day off. Like the next day, he had a show in New York. So it was his day off, and we kind of linked up and did a record. Wow. So that was not a Jive RCA manufactured kind of scenario. That was an actual organic kind of thing. The Justin record, I was singing on one of the records, and Jive thought that getting Justin on the song would blow it up even more. The issue was the pop record department, even though they loved the record, they didn't want to invest, because now how you guys said $10,000 in an 8-ball for Hot 97, Z100 is like 80 to 90 grand.
Yeah.
At that time. This is before like, you know, what it is now. So like,
no, be clear. Be clear. It's not different now. In fact, it might be more expensive.
Yeah.
It's like $250 to $500 to break a top 40 record.
Yes, so it takes a lot of money. So, you know, that at that time it was 90 to 100 grand. And this was 2010. And you know, they just didn't want to pull the trigger. They didn't want to pull the trigger, and I don't think Justin ever kind of got his hands on the record, you know what I'm saying? And he was transitioning into movies. Yeah. It was something that, you know, he was in the system, so it wasn't like it couldn't happen. And maybe I shouldn't have aimed so high, because that was an idea of mine. Maybe I should have went to Chris, you know, did a Chris Brown record instead of a Justin record, or did a Miguel record, because he was in that system as well. Yeah. Or even a Jason Derulo, he was in that system as well.
Jason Derulo.
I was aiming. I wanted to just I wanted to get this big record and be done with hip hop forever.
No, I feel you. I think that was the MO for us too.
I think that was a product of our era. Like I remember our manager, well, both our managers sat us down and was like, yo, like, do you want to be like this group that kind of sits here and just stays the course? Or do you want to try to take this shot? And then, like that was the whole thing. It was like, yo, like, even though we were on Raucous, we still kind of had this thought process that like, okay, like we're gonna make records, but then we still gonna blow up. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
How you blow up? You blow up by like getting the biggest names on the song. You blow up by getting the name brand directors. I think we always had this way of like, even when we were doing underground shit, we were putting ourselves in like luxury positions, or like still wanted to have that appearance of being a rapper. Whereas I feel like this generation is more like they figured it out in a way of they're like, yo, I'm cool with being a little bit more authentic and being here. But I think we were way more aspirational in the ways that we were looking at things. And it was just like, nah, I can't wear this shirt again. I wore it already. Like, it don't matter if it's on TV or not. I can't, so it was just like a thought process. Even when we were recording that bass line, we were wasting money. You know what I mean? But we felt like we had to record a bass line because that's where everybody was at. You know what I mean? So I think there was still like, even though we did some smart things, there were some things that we did that were also stupid. You know what I mean? That I think like our predecessors and some of the people that I mentored, even around the way here in Chicago, saw like certain mistakes we made, and like the Joey Perps and the Vic Mensahs, the Chance the Rappers, like all of those guys that like when they were seeing what we were doing, I think they were like, yo, like why do y'all care so much about labels? Like for us, that was a big deal to have a brand of a label to co-sign us. They're operating from the standpoint of like, fuck all labels, fuck all radio. Let's just create this thing on the internet and have people come to our social media, and we have meetups and we throw our own concerts. I was a lazy rapper. I was like, yo, I get to the city, I just want to go find the chicks. I don't want to promote. Just tell me when the sound check is. You know what I mean? These guys are different. They do everything for themselves. And, I've always felt like Double O was that for me. So it was like two people in one.
Right.
Because initially he was my manager. A lot of people don't know that. Like at the very beginning of it, Double O was managing me. So like, that's kind of how our group all already operated. So, but yeah, there was always a like, yo, like you gonna get in this shit, go get Jay-Z, go get a Jay feature. Like, don't get your homies. You know what I'm saying? Like even though you that's your man and he's nice, you like, yo, I'm trying to go here. And so this newer generation, they were like, yo, fuck that. We put ourselves on, we put our homies on.
And this might be a perfect time
too, but like I just see it a little bit more so where they don't give a fuck about what happened before them. They quick to diss who's hot and who's nice or whatever. Like, fuck you, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's a big divide in between our era and this era right now. And I think that's why we kind of want to highlight some of these stories.
But I think we were the bridge for that too, though. I think, we, like your story of, being in baseline and get the J feature, that was our thinking too, because we weren't gifted with a cosign. It was just GFC. It was just us. And we did everything our own way, So when you guys would come to the city, it was like, GFC throwing a party, you gotta come through. Chuck English call me, Wale call me, Cuddy call us, and next thing you know, Ye is at the parties. It's just one of those things where we didn't have that luxury. So whenever we got a chance to have these guys come to the city, because of where I was already heading, it was like, let's just get in the studio and do a record. So that's how the Cool Kids record happened. Like, You know, even when you saw a story about that song and that video, like we were ahead of our time even then. So we recorded that song on a Friday, or was it a Monday? I don't. I think it was a no. I think it was a Monday. We recorded that song on a Monday.
Wow.
At like 6:00. We performed it that same night at 10:00, and then we shot the video the next day. So when you watch the video, when you actually watch the video, we don't know the words to the song. Like there's parts where I duck out of the camera, and because I don't know the words. And the same thing, like there's parts where like because they had to do something else. Like this is when the Cool Kids was on fire, so they had mad shit that they was doing. And they did, and obviously they were signed to Seven, I believe, at the time. So
Yeah.
they didn't even like Seven didn't even know that we did this record. Like, so that was another issue. That's why we never sold that song because of
word?
the Seven. Yeah, because of the Seven contract. They didn't even know that we shot Seven didn't know that we even had a video. So when you watch it back, you know, there's parts where Chuck English is like, because he doesn't know the words, and there's parts where Mikey's like, because they don't know the words, and then I'm ducking in and out of the camera because I don't know the words. But it was, and it just so happened that everybody was in the city that same day for what I don't. That was
it had to be like a Rocksmith or a 10 Deep photo shoot or something, because I am trying to figure out why we were in the city too. I mean, I lived there, but why you were in the city too? We were just figuring it out.
Yeah, you know,
but it worked.
Cool Kids had a show, so they were there. Cuddy was living in New York at that time, so he was there. Vashti just popped up. I didn't even know she was coming. She just showed up. It was just like, what the hell are you doing here? Then who else was in that video? Obviously, you know, Hood by Air, their guys came up, just popped up in the video. Mellow X was there. Like, it was just a whole bunch. It was just crazy. It was just like, but that was the scene.
Yeah.
That was the scene. And it was just like, wow, look at this. And it was like my coming out party, because before that, it was just audio. I was just putting out audio. And then we didn't even put the song out. Like, we just put the video out. And people saw it and was just like, whoa. And it was like a viral kind of moment back in those times.
Yeah, and that's so important. I mean, Naledge, you can attest to this. Like, in the Driving Down the Block video, Pactive is in it. And it was, hold on. First of all, I need to know, is that a fireball shot that you're sipping on right there? It is. I knew.
I only got one more left. I'm trying to save it for the good stories.
No, I feel you. No, we always ask, because it's like I said, you know, Naledge and I have been functioning alcoholics since college, so this is what we do. But that's what I think was so special about the era. Like, and when we bring them on, I know we've been trying to coordinate with them, but like, I'm pretty sure that Chip the Ripper met Cudi at our album release party. And it was like, there's a video online, and I don't even know how this happened, where Estelle comes on stage to perform with us, and she just happened to be with D Woods from Danity Kane at the time. And so it's just me and D Woods and Estelle and Naledge just dancing on the stage at
SOBs.
At SOBs, and we're just like, this is what it is. We literally don't know what is happening. And that's the most amazing thing about the whole era, is because everybody doesn't know what's going on. And shouts out to SK and Not Right all the time. Mm-hmm. Because like, even us being able to get Bun B on the Driving Down the Block remix happens because he randomly hits SK, and then SK randomly hits Druha, and is like, yo, Bun wants to work with them. Like, but that was necessary. You needed that chaos. Like, what I always tell Naledge is, there's no way that we could make the album that we made with the In Crowd, our second album, again, in this time without a ridiculous budget.
Yeah.
Because to be able to get Travi, to be able to get the Cool Kids, Tyga, Estelle, Pactive, Fonte, like Black Milk, Guilty Simpson. It was, it was
Camp Low.
Camp Low. Like,
What?
Yeah, obviously, rest in peace, Sean Price, Buckshot. Like, the ability to make a project like that was because no one knew what was happening, so everyone was down. And that's why I equate it to this time, because it's like everyone's locked at home.
Yeah.
So everybody's ego is in checking a bit. And so they're like, oh, you got a podcast? You want to do that podcast? Sure, I'll do that podcast. I'll jump on it. What time you want to do it? I'm not doing anything right now. Let me get on it. Let's go. But I love it because I think that these are those glitches in the matrix where great shit gets transitioned. Like, we needed to move from where we have been for the last decade.
Right.
To whatever is going to happen. I mean, I guess we're all going to be dressed like Mickey, wearing Hood by Air, puffy shirts 2021. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what the future is supposed to feel like. That's the thing. That's what I love about what Mickey was doing, is because what we did was we said we love this nostalgia space that we grew up on, that we appreciate, that we feel is missing. And what Mickey was like is like, yeah, that's cool, but the future is wearing garbage bag outfits and Supras.
Fucking super, man. Fucking super. People. I don't know how much people are wearing Hood by Air now. I do remember seeing that shit in Bloomingdale's for $800, $900 3-4 years ago, and I was just like, I can't believe that this is expensive, so expensive now. But they were cutting soap pieces, so I could see that. But I remember there was a group of guys, especially Chuck. Chuck was this big vintage guy. Like, he's like, I need all of the retro sneakers. I need the Cassels. I need, we got. If you watch that video again, I'm gonna continue to reference the Rockin' and Rollin' video.
Yeah.
We got that Troop jacket for Mikey.
That's hard.
Yeah, that was a hard Troop jacket that we got for Mikey. At the time, Quaz, he was a stylist. So we had access to everything. Every type of article of clothing we had access to because he was styling Chris Brown. So I was getting the Chris Brown leftovers along with, he was styling for BT. So whatever, that was also Hood by Air. That was the CEO of Hood by Air right there. That's Remo, the rap star right there. I mean, whatever Chris Brown didn't, keep, I got. And, it just made, you want to talk about clout? That was clout. I was out here fronting, starving. I remember.
That's the greatest shit about the era is everybody was broke.
He was popped.
Like, we had this new era of everybody being rich is brand new. Like, we were famous as fuck.
Yes.
But I would get on the one train to go back up to my crib, and Naledge and I would be sitting next to each other, and then we'd send someone across from us be like, yo, y'all kids in the hall? We're like, yes, and we're riding the train back uptown.
Yeah, fucked up from some industry event, you know what I'm saying, talking to these bloggers all night or hanging out up at Complex's offices or some shit, then get on the train. We used to be late for interviews, mad interviews, because like people were like, oh, like thinking you just running late because you missed your car or something. It's like, nah, we was on a train and I didn't really know which one I was supposed to get on or shit like that would happen all the time.
I mean, Rockin' and Rollin' was number 2 on MTV, and I remember I had to hop the train.
Oh, wow. You had to hop the train. That's much realer than what we're talking about. Because we paid.
Now, I was pop. I was I was broke. I was probably one of the freshest people in New York City, and I was broke. And until one, okay, so I think what turned for me was the Honda commercial.
Yeah.
So when I did the Honda commercial, that's when I saw my first piece of money, and you know, I was still on the train, and you know, when I did the second one, then we was like, we need to get a car because it just doesn't align with the brand. So they gave me a car. But I remember, you know, when I did that Honda commercial, everything kind of just went higher and higher and higher. Then that's when I started to get music placements. The cover came out maybe like a month after I did the commercial. You know, then I got added to the Rock the Bells tour.
Yeah.
You know, and then I did Japan with Lupe. It was just like you said, like, you know, we were doing crazy things. I would go to the magazine stand, and every month I'm in a different magazine, but I was starving, man. I was hungry as hell. I remember eating every day for the first time, sometimes at 5:00 in the evening, bro.
Yo, we had a spot down the street from our manager's office that was a straight up dollar pizza spot that was on like probably a couple of blocks south of like Penn Station, and that was just the move. It was like, oh, dollar pizzas are popping. We about to go and ball out. There was a Mexican food spot that was like $2.75 for rice and beans, and like I forgot. You know, like we would get, because we would come uptown and get those $5 chicharrones, so, you know, whatever, Dominican food plates. Yeah, like I said, like it's an amazing time now to see all of these dudes really eating in this real way. But there's still something nostalgic about our era of being so famous in this very odd way, but then, yeah, being broke as fuck.
I remember every Monday. I remember I would save money up from Sunday, because Monday would be when I would eat, because Epstein's was selling 10-cent wings, and I would go in there and I would order like I would go in there and be like, yo, let me get like 40 wings, and I'd try to eat 15 wings and then take 25 wings home, and that would last me Tuesday and Wednesday. You know what I mean? So like, you know, and again, you know, we were popular. We people knew us. I mean, especially when I went out of state.
Oh yeah,
like, it was outrageous. You know, I remember one time I had a show in Maryland, and these young kids showed up. These kids was maybe about 17, 18 years old, and one of these kids, he had on probably the most messed up pair of sneakers I've ever seen in my entire life. Bruh, I took off a brand new pair of Supers that I had. I got these Supers sent to me by Ash. Shout out to Ash at Supra. He sent me some camo Supers. I asked the kid, I was like, what's your size? He's like, I wear 10. I said, yo, these is a 10 and a half. If you take care of these sneakers, I'll take these sneakers off my feet right now and I'll give them to you. And he was like, yo, I'll do that. And I remember giving that kid a pair of Supers, man, off my feet, bro. And I thankfully I had another pair, and wherever I was staying at, I had another pair. So I had Mellow X, shout out to Mellow X, my DJ at the time. He went and got my sneakers before I took mine off. But I gave this kid a pair. Like when I say brand new, I mean I had just put them on. That's crazy. And I just gave it to the kid, like, yo, here. Because I know what it's, because, you know, we know what it's like to just want something, and then you know, the Naledge could probably attest to this, and you can too, Double. Like, yeah. Once you get into the industry, and you start getting free shit, you just start looking at shit differently. Like, oh, niggas is paying hundreds of dollars for this shit, and they just gave this shit to me for free.
Yep.
I don't need to purchase clothes anymore. You know, like I don't need to purchase anything anymore, because I was getting sneakers, I was getting shirts, I was getting jeans. Complete Technique was a jewelry company. They gave me a chain. I had like a small little gold chain with a microphone. Hats. 10 Deep was giving us clothes. Rocksmith was giving us clothes out the wazoo. Like it was just the only thing I needed was to eat.
That's real.
And I ate every night because in New York City, from Monday to Thursday, again, Naledge and Double O could attest to this. In our industry, Monday through Thursday was the nights where we had to be outside and go to the events. And most times when you went to these events, you would get free alcohol, free wine, free drinks, and they usually would serve food. That would be my dinner.
Yep. No lie. I was gonna say we got paid in drinks a lot of nights. Like, we got paid in drinks a lot of nights. You know, I remember Complex used to have those little office parties, and I remember like it would just be free fucking Hennessy, you know, every time. You know what I mean? And those nights it would just be ill. It would be messed up. It'd be like an energy drink and Hennessy.
And
all night. And you know what I'm saying? We end up going to one of them halal spots.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody's probably girlfriends at the time that had real ass jobs. That was able to support this lifestyle that we're talking about because they got a little taste of what rap life was like. But then when rent came on the 1st, they had to make sure that their regular job covered that joint. You know what I'm saying?
I've been waiting for this segment all day. I've been waiting because I knew it was gonna come up.
You know it.
At the end of the day, man, I was out here, B. I was out here reckless and I was out here wilding. And you know, if I wasn't crashing on Steve O's floor, and if I wasn't crashing on Precise, aka
Charles Alejandro,
if I wasn't crashing on his futon, I was staying at multiple girls' homes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm indebted to a lot of girls, women. You know, at one point I was dating Miss New York. You know, and I couldn't chip in for no money. You know, I couldn't chip in for nothing. Like I was that broke, but she took care of me for like 2 or 3 months, man, and didn't ask me for anything. She was just like, yo, I know you gonna look out, and I didn't look out, but because I didn't make anything, you know what I'm saying. And when I finally was ready to show her some love, she was like, I don't even want it. It's too late. It's just like, you know, but like I was, you know, that. You know, shout out to the women who helped us because
100%.
They stop. You want to talk about selfless? You know, women. You know, on the come up, they just look out and they show so much love. You know, and things happen that don't allow us to stay with them for whatever reason.
Because we're broke.
You know, because we were popped, and sometimes they just couldn't see as far into the future as we could, and you know sometimes that grows animosity. But I'm glad that I'm friends with all of my exes who helped me around that time. Like I'm very good friends. We laugh and joke about it now. You know, whenever they ask me for anything, it's not even a second guess. I send whatever they need. You know, because they helped me in a time when I needed them the most. Because at one time I was homeless. For 2008, the whole year of the leap that I was putting out those songs. I was homeless. I literally had nowhere to go. That whole entire year when I made the XXL cover, I did not have my own place to stay. You know what I'm saying? I was stealing food out of Precise's refrigerator, lying, saying it wasn't me, knowing it was me. You know, I was stealing people's bath, shower work. I was wilding, but I did whatever I had to do to pop, you know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that I was able to do that because now I'm self-sufficient. You know, I'm self-sufficient off of music strictly. And it's been that way, you know, since 2007. So I'm honored and, you know, grateful for that.
Yeah, now speaking of friends and people, speaking of people who've obviously helped us out, who was in your, do you remember who you had in your MySpace top 8?
My MySpace top 8, I had Saint, Steve-O, Quaz, Drake, Chuck English, Lakita, who was my personal assistant, Precise, and we would always alternate the eighth person.
But let's talk about young Precise for a little bit, because he's definitely become the what is he, Peruvian heartthrob or something like that.
Peruvian king.
You know what I'm saying?
Shouts
out to Precise, man.
He's the king.
Yeah, like, what is it like? Because I think that specifically your crew, especially, has been so transformative in a ton of artists' careers. A-Child, obviously, Rory, Big Crit,
Nipsey.
Yep. Yeah, Nip. Like, what? I guess, what is it like? Because they were all your top 8. Seeing that transition happen.
Yeah.
For him, for A-Child,
for all of them.
I mean, Saint and Steve to me are the smartest people in the music industry that people don't even know about. You know, in a mass way. You know, these two people, you know, they're unbelievable. You know, Saint and Steve are just visionaries. They saw things that people say now. They said it 12, 13 years ago. It's just like they kind of had a crystal ball that they went to in a secret room every night, and the next day they would just say the shit, and it would just happen every time. You know, my Mickey Mouse project was a child of Steve-O's idea. That was all Steve-O's idea. Me wearing Supras was a Saint and Steve idea. Y3 came from Saint, Steve, and Quaz. That, you know, a lot of the things that they created for myself, you know, a lot of things that, you know, I put out into the atmosphere came from them. Even when they picked up, first of all, we picked up Nipsey. Nipsey and Smoke Dizzle were our first clients. And when we first, you know, got a hold of Nipsey, you know, my thought process off top was, yo, we need to let Epic know that we have to market him like Snoop. That was my thought process. And they were like, no, he just needs to be the brand new West Coast Nipsey Hussle. He needs to just be that new energy. And, you know, and they took that and they ran with it for his first album. And then obviously we stopped working with him. But for that first album, we was there with him. And then, you know, Crit. I remember when they found Crit and they played me the Crit shit. And I was like, yo, this kid is unbelievable. Like, he's unbelievable. And then, you know, Shapiro took him and went to the moon with him. And then same thing with Rory. And, you know, same thing with Black. You know, they had Black. Yeah,
they had Black. Them and Lovers Renaissance have a very close relationship. So we can also talk about Drum and all of that as well.
Drum, yeah. Then they took Drum, and then you know, A-Child, like, you know, he, you know, Precise was always someone who wanted to be a solo act, and you know, the music that me and him created for, I want to say we started creating music in 2007. So for like 4 to 5 years, we created some really, really amazing music. And then I felt like he just kind of felt stagnant, you know, with me and what was happening to me in the label system. And he always just kind of wanted to be an artist. And I always supported that, you know, at first I you know, well, I won't say I always supported it because, you know, in 2012, we actually had to there was a different level of talent that was out there. And he wasn't the singer that he is now. I want to say it in that way. And at that time, if he would have released music as a singer, it wouldn't have worked. But now, you know, he's not only is he a better singer because he went and got vocal lessons, he's always been an incredible producer, always. So now he owned up to his heritage, I feel. And I feel like once he owned up to his heritage, that is what separated him from everything that, you know, GFC has ever created. You know, even Crit. And Crit is probably our biggest success story. But, you know, A-Child is is homegrown. Like, you know, I found HL on MySpace randomly, and I was just like, this kid makes beats that sounds like Pharrell, and I want to work with him because this is going to be the future of music. And lo and behold, like, he is creating the future of music right now, especially for his people. And, you know, I love him to death. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but I see what he's doing, and I'm a fan of what he's doing. I'm very, very proud of what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Because for a long time, he was in my shadow for a very long time. And, you know, he wanted to break free. And he broke free, and he surpassed me in ways that, you know, I can only admire, you know?
Yeah, what I love is when he hit me with the. I ran into him at the Sony ATV Christmas party or something like that. I think he had just moved out and just got signed. And it was like, you know, the regular, oh, you run into the homie, you need to update the contact. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, precise. Well, he's like, no. I was like,
and I know he said it just like that, too. No.
And he's just like, just wait. And nothing had come out yet. And it might have been a year until anything came out. Right. But when he came out to LA, he was very focused. And I just love to see, obviously, the transition and growth and hair growth, because I still feel like I had the best hair in hip hop. And once everybody saw that you can do that, they all just bit off of me and just grew it out. But it's cool, because I'm over 40 and still got this shit. Y'all can't stop me.
Wow, look at that shit, D.
No grays either. Fuck with me.
H-Style let that shit flow, though. He let that shit.
Yeah. No, but it's amazing. And it's, I think, a testament again to, like, it's a thing that often happens with the trendsetters, right? Where you have this forward-focused, forward-thinking movement that's happening, but the generation after them or the people after them are going to be the ones that really win. But it's amazing to see that we're able to sort of pass a torch in this, you know, in this super real way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else. What about you, Naledge?
Well, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't, you know, comment on the way Mickey has transitioned career-wise. But then also, I remember, like, seeing you for the first time move into the battle circuit.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, like, that's, you know, and that's a space that, like, you know, I feel like for a long time, it was thought of as like, oh, if you just a battle dude, you just a battle dude. Or if you can make songs and if you're a great songwriter, then that's what you do. And they usually don't intermix. Right. But, like, I got to give you credit, because I thought at first you was just gonna play the sidelines and be kind of like the critical commentator from a standpoint, because you have lyrics,
right?
You know that. And you have the ability to go at the proverbial MC, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I saw like maybe 4 or 5 battles of yours online, and so vicariously, as I'm being a fucking grad student, I'm watching this shit. I'm like, Mix out here battling niggas. I'm like, this shit crazy. Like, it's, you know, I was watching URL. It's like if you watch a WWE and, like, your homeboy comes out. And the guy, you know what I'm saying? Whereas I was like, oh shit, like, he's knee deep in this shit. Like, I don't know if that was a conscious decision to step over there, but, like, what was your thought process in weighing that out? Because I think some people might have been like, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people told me not to do it, and I was heavily involved with URL for a very long time, and, you know, being a critical MC on these MCs that do what they do, you know, force fans of the culture and MCs of the culture to
put your head back in the damn screen.
Sorry, they forced me. Sorry, I got a slouch. They forced me to say, you know, come into the. If you talk a good game, but can you do what we do?
Mm.
You know, I did 3 of them joints, four of them actually. And, from the first time I went in 2013, it was a one rounder in Chicago with Danger Zone. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to do another one. And then me and Daylight did one on King of
Shouts
the
out to Daylight.
Dot. That was I kind of cooked him badly.
I don't. Daylight may feel a way about that.
It happens.
It is what it is.
And then I did a beat battle. That was actually something that I wanted to try. I saw that was starting to be popular. So I did that. I did a beat battle. And then I did the DNA battle 2018 on URL. And that was always I'm from New York, so rapping in front of Smack was always something that I wanted to do. That was just like a bucket list of mine. So I did it, and I got it out of my system. So, I'm probably going to do one more, and then I'm retired for good. Because it wasn't something that I wanted to do because I needed the money.
Yeah.
I want that to be very clear. But what I will say, doing the battles has kind of put like a stain on my, I don't want to say career, but like in terms of media and interviews, like people always want to interview me and call me a battle rapper.
What do you think is the issue with that? What do you think is the issue with this being able, because Daylight and I talk about it a lot, is like being able to, the battle rap space, especially in the 90s, let's say, right? Used to not be some weird disconnect from commercial rap. You just had to figure out a way to translate it over. But now it seems like these things are so distant that no one wants to allow the transition to happen. And why do you think there's this weird space that's been created in between them?
I think for a very long time, guys who were battle rappers couldn't separate the battle from the studio. And it was like that up until maybe 2018. People were going in the studio and battling the beat. They were not being, emotionally connected to the beat. And also, everyone is not, and you guys can attest to this, everyone is not as smart as they think they are when it comes to music and when it comes to lyricism. So, as the double entendre, the triple entendre, the usage of simile, the usage of assonances and assonances and alliteration, all these things, like people don't know anything about that, So when guys get on the record, they're doing all of these. It's like a Harlem Globetrotter Rucker style free for all when they make music, and it's not the grace and style of an NBA game. And that is really what the issue is when these guys go into the studio. There's nobody there to take them and take their story and make it something tangible.
Yeah.
So that is really what the issue is. So when I started to do the battles, and even I think it was yesterday, man, I had got a DM from some new, I guess, media company. It was like, yo, you're like, we're putting you on this 50 artists, 50 Twitter people. Follow these 50 people on Twitter who have under 50 K followers. And they were like, battle rapper Mickey Factz. And I was like, oh my God. Like I have 16 mixtapes, two albums, this, that, commercials, that. But the battles is what I'm being labeled as.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. Wait a second.
But no one can predict, right? Like, I think that's the one thing that I've learned being in the industry so long, and I'm sure you can attest, is like, no one can predict. We walk into this with assumptions based off of what we thought should or would happen.
Right.
And then what ends up happening is we get into this space where the fan base decides what they want from us. And it's a decision that we have to make to say, I'm willing to go in that direction and indulge that idea, or no, this other thing is what you really need to know me for, and I'm gonna keep drilling it and have to abandon whatever you may or may not know me for. But you run the risk when you do that. This is like, I guess, business 101. You run the risk of alienating the embers that you had created with that,
Yep.
with that joint.
I mean, that's what I did. I alienated my fan base by doing those battles, but I didn't look at it like that. When I did them, it's like it's a one-time thing. You watch it, you're done. It's not something that you carry. You watch the battle and that's it. To me, at least, music. There's people that still hit me and be like, "Yo, I still listen to In Search of the Nerd that came out in 2006." So like, I feel like I don't find it insulting that people call me a battle rapper. I find it to be lazy.
Yeah.
It's like, look at everything that I have done. I always let people know that. And I love the way Naledge segued into it, because I feel like, and maybe it's because he knows me, but it's more so like I'm a hip hop artist who can battle as opposed to I'm a battle rapper. Like I don't have this long resume of 20 to 30 artists that I've battled. I've only done it 3 to 4 times. You know what I'm saying? And some of these, like I have like my Paradise video, you can fit all 4 of my battles, all the views on those 4 battles into the Paradise video. I would still have more views on the Paradise video left over. And I'm still considered a battle rapper at this moment. So, that's why it's like, I want to do one more just to kind of get it out of my system and be done with it. But, my focus is always going to be the music. But I will say this, it is an adrenaline rush unlike anything I've ever experienced. Anything I've ever experienced. And, when I get on stage, whether it's, you get those butterflies before you get on stage, whether it's 5 people or whether it's 1,000 people, you get those butterflies. But it is nothing compared to the battle. Like nothing. Like it I can't even. Okay, so I don't even know if you get butterflies double.
Oh, I 100% do. But right now, I want you to continue talking while I go take a piss.
So you do that. Because I feel like this is something that I feel like Naledge will definitely connect with. Okay. Before we get on stage, we get these butterflies.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, once you hit the stage, it goes away. When I was preparing for Daylight and DNA, I had butterflies. I had those same butterflies that I would feel before I would get on stage. I had them 3 weeks before I would have to perform.
That's crazy.
And that is a feeling, you know the feeling. So imagine feeling that for 3 weeks before the battle.
And then I always wondered, like, in between, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, like, from my standpoint, I was always like, okay, I know somebody like you can do that. Because I was like, when people would be like, oh, okay, he's battling, he gonna get ate up. I'm like, nah, he's not gonna get ate up because he's strategic. He wouldn't even step in if he wasn't over prepared to be in this circle. Right. But I was always like, yo, that stage seems like it has its own beast to it. And it's like, in between rounds, I see stuff happening. There's so many distractions going on. Folks got entourages that are interacting with each other. You got people in the crowd who can throw your shit off. We don't have the ability to be the artful dodgers that we are when we're doing our own records. Where like, if you stumble, you can like artfully figure that out and no one may know, or they'll let it rock, or you could just do some crowd engagement. That shit is one of those things where they're so hard on folks. I realize, like, if one little stumble and you know what I'm saying, or one bar that don't land the way you thought it was gonna land.
It's I liken it to it. I would go out on a limb and say it is probably the toughest performance art piece in all of media. Only because when you think of us as musicians, we perform the same record over and over and over and over. If you get booked for a show for next week, you're gonna do songs you did 12, 14 years ago, and it's muscle memory. Even Broadway plays, right? Like they practice together, and they do the same show for at least 6 to 7, 8 months, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with opera. Same thing with the Philharmonic. Same thing, with people that do lectures. Anything on that level. But for battle rap, you write this one piece of rap and never say it again, bro. Like, you can never say this rap again, ever. That's it. And it has to be perfect.
Right.
One time. You only get one time to do this thing perfectly. There's no sport. There's nothing like this.
Yes, there is. It's called track and field, and I've run it. And
yeah, but you're not using your voice.
Understood, but
and you're not in front of 1,000 people.
No, I'm in front of 100,000 people. You forgot I ran in the World Championships and the Olympics.
Like, and not muscle memory though, like to a certain extent, isn't it?
Not at all, because the thing about you could say the same thing almost about rap, but the reality is, in that moment, whatever your mindset is, when you step into that space, is going to dictate your performance. And if you talk yourself out of everything that happens in the starting blocks, it's over as soon as the race begins. And so I do think it's akin in a similar way to sort of battle rap, because you have a set amount of time to accomplish something, and then it's over.
Okay,
and so you either win or you lose.
So let me ask you this. So how long was your track and field stuff for?
In terms of career or actual
No,
sport?
Just that actual piece of you just doing it.
Like. Your event.
So theoretically, I ran the 400-meter hurdles, and that would last about a minute. Let's just say that from the time that it starts and the time that it ends. Now you're getting there, obviously hours before. You're starting to do warm up. You're starting to get your mind right. You're doing all the things that you need to do to prep. Right. But yeah, it's a minute on the actual track.
Right, and these guys. Again, I can't speak to track and field. I can only speak to this battle shit. And obviously, I'm sure you can attest to it. You probably get butterflies weeks before. You have to do your event for track.
I still get butterflies before I go on with Lupe now. Like, but you see me pacing back and forth.
No, but do you get the butterflies 3 weeks before the show?
No.
Every day.
Yeah, no.
Like, no. I just told Naledge that, like, I was preparing for DNA while we were on tour with Lupe in 2018. Like, I was preparing for him then. That battle happened in December. We were on tour in June, and I was preparing for him then. And I was getting butterflies in November, like every day. And then I have to think about this person every single day. I have to recite it every single day, every day. Think about this one person to the point where it's like, I want to just get this over. I want to purge myself.
Before you fall in love with them.
Not fall in love. I'm also like, I want to just get this over with.
I want to annihilate you. And
I gotta be, and you gotta be perfect. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced in my entire life. Like,
no, I'm sure it's extremely different than anything I could really imagine. Daylight and I had an entire conversation about 2 days ago because we did a Black Lives Matter event that was recorded. We were in Larrabee Studios, but 2 separate studios, and he was with Kamazi and Terrace Martin, and they were doing basically a freeform jazz freestyle. Him, G Perico, and I forgot who else. And even what he was talking about was how watching Kamazi solos and watching Terrace solos, was the first time that something else outside of battle rap clicked for him in a way that felt like the same energy. Like, oh, it's because it's like a double dutch routine, right? Where you're like, especially when you're in the room where you're waiting to jump in to do your 1-2. And we just talked about that, how that would influence his music from now on. But yeah, I do think battle rap is unique, and I think that the battle rap space that you've been in is extremely unique from the 90s cypher battle rap space that I think some people would know.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a different thing. You know, they focus more on the punchline as opposed to the freestyle capability, the amount of rhymes you have that they did back in the 90s. Right now, it's more so based on the punchline, the metaphor, the simile, the entendre. They focus on that more so than anything else when, dealing with, battle rap now. And it's, the crowd component, plays a huge part, and when I battled Daylight, that was a big thing. Like I battled in a league where they don't boo people, and I made them boo Daylight, because he was doing what he was doing. But for the most part, like I went in there so prepared that it was one of those things where it was like it just kind of turned out bad for him. But essentially, it's a very stressful culture, man. Like, and if you mess up and you lose, you got to deal with that online scrutiny, and even when you win, you have to deal with it, And for me, in my whole career, the only time I've dealt with that kind of scrutiny in my whole career, aside from battle rap, was the Joe Budden situation with Wu-Tang on Rock the Bells. That was the only time I've ever dealt with something like that.
How did you find yourself in that space? We were literally in the same venue, and we were nowhere near Joe Budden at the time. How did you end up?
Yo, all right. So
Don't give me a drink on this one. I'm getting another drink.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Because like a lot of people want this story out of me, and I feel like y'all family, so I give y'all this story.
But you gotta wait till Naledge comes back because he just went and disappeared. We gotta wait for all that shit.
He went and got that drinky drink.
But it's fine. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you a Joe Budden story. The funniest, the only interaction, maybe outside of even when you guys, because it was whenever that was happening was like before I ever got put on. I was in LA before I moved back to New York and trying to just figure shit out, trying to figure out the industry. And through sidekicks is basically how I got connected in the industry.
Right.
And Just Blaze and I had a relationship. And so I had an event during BET Awards that I somehow convinced him to come and DJ real quick. And then Joe Budden just appeared in just a wife beater, as he did back then in the era. And we were just at, I want to say, the Henry Fonda Theater in LA. And just as DJing, and I just walk over and I just hand Joe Budden a microphone. And I'm just like, he was not there to perform. He was not there to do anything. Right. But I was just like, do pump it up. And I was wilding. I don't even know what the fuck I was even thinking at the time. But it was just kind of like, you see Just Blaze on stage, you know what time it is.
Right.
And I think he did maybe like half the first verse or something like that song. And then just walked off. Yeah. I mean, it's a hard thing when you create these records that become so big that they just change what you thought you were going to be in the music industry. And sometimes it takes, and I think what he had to do was destroy literally Joe Budden to become the iteration that he is now, the iteration that he was with Slaughterhouse and with Mood Music. You almost have to kill that shit, even if it's it's gonna be successful, you can't live like that.
Right.
But now Knowledge is back, so we need that story. Rock the bells.
Rock the bells, man. So
2008?
2009. You guys were on that
2009.
same. Y'all were on it with me too, right?
Yeah, I just don't remember which year it was.
Yeah, we were.
It was 8 or 9. It was
I think
08
y'all
or
were on
09.
8. I think y'all did 8. I think y'all did 9.
Yeah, we did 2 shows in 9. We did like Chicago and I think New York. But in 2008, we were on the whole thing.
Okay, so y'all did the New York show. So the New York show is when it all started.
Yeah.
It started with, Joe had said some things about Method Man. And he said these things on the radio. He said these things on his podcast or something, and then it went viral in the hip hop world. And they approached Joe in New York, but before that, I think we were in DC, and me and Joe did a live, and I think he had said something about Inspector Deck or something like that. And that video was what caused Raekwon to run up in the dressing room.
Yeah.
But before that, Joe met with Method Man in New York City, and they squashed it. So everything was squashed. Apparently, Raekwon didn't see that video. So I had just flew from Japan to do this Rock the Bell show in LA. So I flew from Japan to LA. I get in town. I just did the Honda commercial. The Honda commercial's still out, whatever. So Honda's at the show. All of the representatives for Honda's at the show. I kill the show. Kill it.
That's crazy.
I get off stage. When I get off stage, I speak to the Honda reps. I see where Joe Budden's trailer is at. That day, it was like 102 degrees. It was so hot.
Yeah.
Raekwon and his peoples, and shout out to Raekwon. Me and Raekwon, we speak now. It's all good. Raekwon is with his peoples, and they just outside of Joe Budden's. They outside of his trailer. I dap everybody up. I dap all of them up, and it's like I said, it's blazing hot in LA. And I go into Joe Budden's trailer where the AC is at. So I'm very excited. I'm very happy. I'm very appreciative. And at this time, Joe Budden is doing Joe Budden TV. And that has a very big network for him.
He was always ahead of the curve when it came to this media shit.
Always ahead of the curve. So, I'm in his room, and he's somewhere else, and I'm sitting there talking to the fans. I'm intrigued by this. I'm like, whoa, like I'm on live with all of these fans. It's so many fans on this live, and I'm just talking to them all. And then Raekwon, comes into the room with like 4 or 5 guys. You guys are big. You guys are huge. And I dap everybody up. And same thing, like I did. So before.
They come in right after you.
They come in maybe like 5-10 minutes after me.
But they were waiting outside the whole time.
Yes, because at the time there's like a runner, right? There was There's a runner that would go back and forth to make sure everything is good. So once that runner left Joe Budden's room, they came in the room. And when they came in the room, it was love. Like they dapped everybody in the room, bro. Like, so when they came in, they dapped me up, da, 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 da. And I just turned back around to the computer. And I'm like looking at the computer. I'm like, and then once the door closes, that's when it gets dark. It gets dark. And they start Raekwon starts questioning Joe about his comments. that he was making about Inspector Deck and Method Man. And, Joe, and mind you, we're a week from the apology that Joe gave to Method Man. So it's essentially squashed.
Yeah.
But Raekwon and his peoples don't know that it's squashed. That is the main issue. They didn't know that it's squashed. So I'm on the computer and I turn around when I hear that it's like an issue. So I'm watching what's happening. So we're both trying to explain to Raekwon and his peoples that, Joe squashed it already. Raekwon is not trying to hear that. So then he's like, all right, if it's squashed, pull up the video. So I turn back around because I'm the one that's next to the computer. And when I turn back around to pull up the video, I accidentally knock out the dial-up because there's no such thing as Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as Wi-Fi.
Especially in those trailers.
In those trailers, there was no Wi-Fi. There's no such thing as an iPhone with WorldStar where you can pull it up. Yeah. So I'm frantically trying to pull up the site where everything is squashed, but I can't because I didn't realize that the plug was knocked out. So Joe is now trying to have a conversation with Ray about what's happening. And I guess I don't know what was said. Something was said, and I'm trying to pull up this footage, and all I hear is a punch, right? But I didn't think it was a punch when I heard it. I just thought something fell. And I heard a ah. I didn't even turn around. I'm just trying to find, and people think that I was scared or something. It wasn't that I was scared. It was like I'm trying to pull up the footage and it wasn't working. And I didn't understand. Again, I wasn't that computer literate to know that it was an Ethernet cord that wasn't plugged in.
Yeah.
So when I turned around, I saw that he had got hit. And by that point, it was like, all right. Once I saw that he got hit, after I was already, like, it was maybe like, I want to say 10 seconds before I finally turned around. When I finally turned around, I was like, oh shit, he got hit. And then I stayed facing that scenario.
Yeah.
And then, it just turned into.
Yeah, I think that is like a really important, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this knowledge, but I think that was a really important transitional moment to happen, because I'm sure everybody's good now, but I think there was like this, like you said, like there's this conversation that happens on the internet that becomes real life that then, but wait a minute, but the internet could have squashed it, but it didn't happen fast enough. Now everybody's super cool and that shit would have gone through these paces in a way where that wouldn't have happened. But those situations, unfortunately, needed to occur.
Right. I got blamed. People were angry at me for not helping Joe Budden when he got hit. But he got hit. Like and me and Joe are cool now. We laugh about shit now. The same thing with Raekwon. Wish him a happy birthday every year. We everything is over with. So like, when he got hit, like you get hit. So if you get hit, your first reaction is to probably try to hit him back. But his response was he didn't swing back. He didn't swing back because he was in the room with me and he felt like I wouldn't have fought.
Yeah, y'all were cool, but like this is not being in a situation with the homies that you got your back.
Right.
And this is an idol.
Yo, nobody's
That's a whole
that either.
This is an idol. This is not like, oh, two dudes 2 blocks over. This is, I've grown up watching this dude. And this is like let's be for real. This is like your dad slapping you in the face, and you're just like,
It's like, wait, what?
what just happened?
Right.
And you got to process that before you process what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
Right. And I think people really didn't understand that aspect of it. They didn't get that. I bought the purple tape. I bought the very first tape that I ever purchased was Enter the 36 Chambers. That was the very first hip hop tape I've ever purchased. Ever. So it's like, come on. Like that on top of the fact that he didn't do anything. And he wasn't gonna even if there was somebody else in the room that might have been tough that was in there with him, I still don't think Joe would have done anything. I just don't think he would have done anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's not a knock to him, but it's more so it was 6 football player sized niggas in there. Like that's just what it was. And we were outnumbered 6-3. And as much as people like to front online and say I would have fought, I would have done, no, you would not have fought, bro. That's just not realistic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and for me, you know, I still get heat for that to this day. You know, actually the anniversary of that is coming up in August. So August 9th.
Damn, you got a date?
That's crazy.
Because it happens every year. Every year on August 9th. My Twitter mentions go crazy.
Thank you, because now I know when to post this clip.
Today is the day that Joe Biden got punched in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to deal with that every year.
Well, you on the low though, like Joe, you know, put himself in the lexicon of like the media world. You know,
right.
Whether it been like the gossip rags or the gossips of the world, like he kind of moved into a different space. He started messing with a bunch of, you know, like video girls and like stripper chicks and like, you know, I think he was still in Slaughterhouse at that point, right? And
yeah,
so like,
that was a Slaughterhouse situation. Yeah,
it's like he turned that was kind of the inkling that I could see that he was turning into a media entity, and I think he liked that attention. It's as weird as it may seem.
He loved it, man.
He's always fed off of that weird attention, whether it's positive or negative. He's always figured out a way to spin it. Which is why I'm like, you know, I think on some level, you know, Raekwon gave him what he wanted anyway. You know what I'm saying? And it's a weird way to go about things, but like, I remember there being quite a bit of people, you know, around me that were like internet heads who just were like, I hate Joe Budden. I'm glad he got hit. You know, like that type of wave where it was like, you know, he turned himself into this heel type character, even within Slaughterhouse. It was like, why he breaking up the group, or why he the diva of the group, or why he got to be always doing off to this, you know, why is he always got an attitude about certain things? So I think, you know, that was kind of the beginnings of, you know, I think like seeing how hip hop media, not songs, not music videos, like hip hop media and gossip starting to kind of like
mesh
its way into kind of like this like being popular, almost like the same way Perez Hilton will report on like Lindsay Lohan getting coked out. You know, now we had like Angela Yee talking about like how some shit was going down at Rock the Bells, you know what I mean? And like,
right.
So the timing of that was kind of ill. And I mean, just, I was there for some of these moments, so it's ill, but like to think about it now as a researcher, when I'm often in rooms with folks who talk about hip hop, but weren't in any of these spaces, it's funny to hear like their interpretations of what was going on from the standpoint of they only heard what they got through websites, blogs, and like in some instances, these websites that were publishing stories. But like,
right,
you know, there's a much different interpret. Whereas I feel like some people, and then on the other flip side of it, people looked at Raekwon like, yo, like that's hard that he did that. Like that's how I would have envisioned it to go down. But you know, I can't lie. We shared a dressing room with Jay Elect during Rock the Bells, and I remember he used to cause all kind of drama.
Good old chaos.
Like,
Shout out to Jay Elect.
and I love him to death, but he was like I was a wild boy.
But I think that's the best way to end it, because I think that story ends on what this whole thing is about. Is like, that was oddly enough a bit of a weird changing of the guard, because him not reacting in the way that you would have reacted in the 90s helped usher in this space where now, especially where he is now, it just doesn't even matter to play in that. And I also think that even like Raekwon and Meth and all these people, especially Meth, has moved into this space where it's just like, you know, this dude is on network television. Like, he just wouldn't risk it at all.
At all.
So you got to be very thankful for those, even though they might not have been as peaceful as you wanted to be transitions to this space. But thank you so much for coming.
Yes.
And I'm sure we could talk more always.
Before we get off, though, I gotta let you know that your LA Leakers verse, the last one you did, the very last one you did, is probably in the top 3 verses I've heard in the last decade.
Oh my goodness.
Real.
That's love. I love that verse so much.
More than the Flex joint. The Flex joint was hard, but
the Flex joint, he was trying to get cool, trying to be like, oh, I bet y'all didn't know, you know, I'm accounting and shit, and I can just break down this whole, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking 9 to 5 shit on y'all right now.
Let me tell y'all some shit about yourselves that y'all don't know about yourself.
Yeah, nah, the Flex shit was that. I agree with that. I was trying to do some different shit, but that LA Leaker shit, like, you know, that's one of my favorite beats of all time. That Premier shit. I actually write all my radio freestyles to that beat.
That's crazy.
And when I wrote that shit, I was in a completely different zone, and you know, I'm glad, you know, lyricists such as yourself, you know, such as Royce, who reposted it, Elzai, who reposted it, you know, Fonte. You know, I do it for the supporters, but I also do this for my peers, man. Like, I want to impress my peers more than anything, you know. And you as a lyricist, you know that, you know how that goes. We trying to show our peers, like, yo, look where I'm taking it here. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that you said that, you know what I'm saying, it means the world to me, because I wanted to always just be a part of that conversation. Yeah, and when we were first starting out, coming into this industry, we were just trying to be the cool guys, trying to get this money, and then once, you know, the weight sets in and the age, the numbers get higher.
Y'all stop talking about weight, man. Y'all could get out here and lose this shit. I don't want to hear none of that shit, man. Just, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got to be fat. You don't have to be.
We don't have to be, but
we choose to be.
So once you get into veteran status and you can't be that quote unquote cool guy, cool young kid anymore, you gotta rely on the pen, and the pen will always keep you relevant no matter what, because there's always going to be a group of people that want to hear bars no matter what. So, you know, and that, I was in a zone when I wrote that Knowledge. I was when I wrote that. I'm just glad I did. You know, I'm glad people recognized it. You know, it hit. Yeah. You know, a couple people posted it. You know, that was one of the few times in this new era of no blogs where I was getting reposted. Felt good, man. Felt good.
Yes, sir. I had to mention that. Let you know that, man. We giving flowers on this podcast.
We are, definitely, all day. Thank you so much. Super support. Quilted ass hood by air. And you were already in 2021 before we even got there. But man, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yes,
man, thank you.
And Knowledge, before we go, listen, we did 2 other records, man. Could you send me those 2 records if you have them?
If I have them, I'll send whatever I have for sure. If I don't have it, I know.
If not, we can also just make new records.
I'm always down to make new records. Always.
That's always. I'm back in that headspace. You know, I had got out of that headspace doing all this like dissertation bullshit, but like
I see. I love it.
It's gonna be Dr. Knowledge soon. You know what I'm saying? So
I know. I see. You know.
I call it bullshit. It's not bullshit by any means. You don't spend 4 years of your life on bullshit, but
nope.
but
before y'all even before we get off, I want to ask Knowledge question, right?
Okay.
So, I know you're an accomplished student who's graduated, and are you cum laude? Are you on that type of time? Is that?
I mean, shit. When we were in undergrad, yeah, but like the way that this moves is you can graduate with distinction for your whatever your dissertation or your thesis or whatever.
Right.
We'll see what happens when I defend it.
So the reason why I ask is because I want to get into the space where I can teach hip hop, like and I feel like you would be the perfect person to answer a question like this. So how does one get into a space where they can make a living off of teaching hip hop in terms of the history of it, or and even
man, y'all take that question off the podcast. That's a long ass answer.
Nah, he can answer it quick. He can't.
I know he can't.
I can. We'll definitely take that combo offline. But I will say one thing, and it's funny you said that because I just had a dope conversation with Dr. A.D. Carson over at
that's my guy.
Right, at University of Virginia. He's a professor of hip hop over there. First position of his kind. He's literally a professor of hip hop in the global South or whatever, right? So his position, and he is actually somebody who actually wrote an album as his dissertation, right? Yeah, so that's a completely different thing than what I'm doing. I'm doing the traditional route. I'm writing what amounts to what would look like a book. Anyway, me and him was talking. This is not that long ago. This is a quarantine talk. This is like maybe 2 weeks ago. And it's our duty as scholars who MC to consistently bring folks like y'all in the fold and make sure that they recognize y'all as the same ways a university might bring Angela Davis and give her 30 racks. I should be able to tell Northwestern, bring Mickey Factz and pay him whatever his fee is. And it's and this is something Lupe talks about too. Double O knows about. Like,
yeah, I mean, he knows Sosa, IT.
Yeah, recognizing our form of communication as being worthy of academic study, not just from a critical standpoint of us criticizing what's happening, but saying, hey, like the way in which the craftsmanship that they put this shit together, right. Killer Mike's already doing it though. Knife's already doing it. So, it's just having more people who know what's up on the other side of those lines. And so, yeah, that's definitely a conversation we can have. And, that's my thing is it's going to go the way of jazz. If I have to sum it up, it's like, it's going to go the way of jazz. Jazz historians often have to bring in folks who worked with the masters. So if I'm not considered a master, I can say I work with Jay Electronica, who's a master. I've worked with Kendrick Lamar, who's a master. I've worked with Royce the 5'9", who's a master. I've worked with folks who are considered. If you don't want to call me a master, I didn't blow up the way you blah blah blah.
Master, bro.
I've worked with masters, and so that's when we could talk about the ways in which we communicate, and that's also when we could tell that's when we can tell them that this isn't some cookie cutter shit. We can tell them about what the cipher was like when you just had to go in and nobody cared about your reputation on Instagram, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to usher in with my research, and I'll leave it there. But yeah, man, I can bring you to Northwestern because that's easy, you know what I'm saying? But in terms of teaching and formulating a class, we could, that's easy. We could do that.
Yeah,
and we will.
We're gonna have to talk. Me and Knowledge are gonna have a conversation offline because I know Double O. He ain't.
I gotta go ahead and walk these dogs and represent Woo. You know what I'm saying?
This motherfucker, man, he gets doing that LAB shit. All that LAB shit.
This is what I'm doing. I'm out here. Shouts out to me in the sky. This is my life. You see my hat? I'm out here. I'm Moondog, man. I'm just out here living.
I gotta go see the baby boy anyway,
Oh yeah, y'all gotta go be dads And
almost
make
got a
sure you
t-shirt.
check out the Fathers Who Bother podcast with the homie JL Barrow. You know what I'm saying? Jerry, you were just on that, right?
I just did that journey.
Yeah, exactly.
That was fun. It was a great interview.
No, amazing. But yeah, this is Professional Leisure. I am Double O. That is Naledge. That is Mickey Factz right there. Mickey. We're out.